Personally, I don't really want to like watch people totally going at it while I'm trying to eat some food. But then again, God bless them.
My opinions on PDA are that it should not happen. I feel like PDA is something that is for you and your partner to do in private. It should be private displays of affection, not public, because nobody wants to like. You look around when you walk around the street, and if you see somebody kissing, you're gonna want to look, but that's rude, and then it's awkward, and all these feelings are brought up that shouldn't be brought up. No PDA. I don't agree.
I'm not into it much at all.
Really?
Well, no, I feel it's a little rude.
I don't like it. By nobody. Nothing. Keep that for the bedroom. It's more special that way.
What aspect of PDA makes people uncomfortable? Well, I think it's because we all have different sort of ideas of what's appropriate and what's inappropriate, and I think that also varies by virtue of what we have going on in our life world at the time. So perhaps maybe if we're smitten kittens, if we're in love, then maybe we're more likely to be inviting of other people's public displays of affection, whereas maybe if we're feeling jaded and wronged, then maybe we're more likely to not be so tolerant of those displays.
PDA to me is just one of those things that just happens, and that, you know, sometimes it can be taken to an extreme, but I don't know. Doesn't it just kind of happen?
I just don't like seeing anybody do it. I feel uncomfortable in the whole genre of PDA.
With regard to sexual orientation, I think that it sometimes, like for example, if it's two men or two women making out in public as opposed to a man and a woman, I think it can bother people because I think when we think about the issues of the day, like when we think about gay marriage, when we think about health benefit rights and things like that, we almost disembody being gay or being lesbian. Like, we know what it means, but we don't see what it means on a day-to-day basis. And so when we see two men making out or two women making out, it sort of shows us in no uncertain terms what exactly that means, what exactly the implications are of being gay or lesbian or bi or what have you.
I mean, same-sex couples are starting to become more common, and it's starting to become not a normal thing, but it's happening. So if that's what you're into, hey, straight PDA, it's just PDA. It's been happening, so same-sex is a little more to get used to.
Personally, I do stare a little more at gay couples just because it's more interesting to look at.
I don't find it uncomfortable seeing same-sex couples. Maybe it's because I go to Marymount. Maybe it's because I live in New York. Maybe it's because I was at like an arts high school. I don't know. I've never been bothered by it. I don't see a reason to be bothered by same-sex couples.
You know, they kind of had to keep that stuff hidden, lots of them, for a long time. And I feel like they're more used to trying keeping on the down low because of it. While hetero couples don't generally have as much to try and hide from everybody else because they're not quite as persecuted as, say, a lesbian or a gay couples.
As a woman, I personally do get a little bit more uncomfortable with two women, just because I don't understand it. It's not that I'm not gonna be going around, oh, don't do that, because everyone's entitled to love who they want to love. But just for me personally, it's just different for me to see.
That can sometimes make people uncomfortable because there's almost a cognitive dissonance going on of, oh, that's new, and I initially feel uncomfortable about that. But I shouldn't feel uncomfortable about that because I'm an open-minded person. These people kissing are making me have like a rupture in my brain because I'm thinking all of these different things at once. And so I think that might have something to do with it. I know that for a long time there was almost a double standard of if two people, one man and one woman, were making out, then, you know, they're just expressing their love for one another, and that's beautiful. But if two men or two women do it, then they're rubbing it in our face. And right, and for the longest time that sort of double standard held, and then, you know, we began to recognize that double standard and communicate that double standard. And so I think that it's being addressed to an extent. But I do think that in the day-to-day, even in New York City, two people making out who are both men or both women are going to get a different reaction than one man and one woman.
I would say that I do notice people's reactions to our PDA. More so men's reactions. Women tend to just look right over it. Men, on the other hand, will usually either stare or say stuff or make it a point to let us know that they can see us. Clearly because men have that fantasy of lesbians or whatever. But I mean, it doesn't bother us at all.
For example, we were sitting in the park one day on a bench, just holding hands, like pretty close, and this one male gets up and comes over to us and just stands right in front of us as we're sitting there and asks us if we were lesbians, just flat out. And we were like, why are you asking us?
And we were like thrown off.
Yeah, very taken aback. And he asked a couple of questions and he was just like, well, you just look very comfortable together. So I was wondering if you felt uncomfortable or
why you felt so comfortable or whatever he said. But we were both kind of just like, why shouldn't we feel comfortable? And kind of made it obvious that we didn't want to talk to him anymore.
It kind of makes me think of one of the books in the book club in the 308 class, the Chameleons, Centaurs, and Peacocks book, where Wayne Breckus talks about how some people, being the peacock, are gay all the time, and everything about them is gay, whereas the chameleon is gay over here but not gay over there, depending on what situation they're in. And then there's the centaur, where a part of them is gay and a part of them is not. And you could replace the word gay with lesbian, bisexual, any sort of marked versus unmarked identity. And so I think that it could be, like, maybe you have the gay individual who has been dealing with a marked identity all his or her life, and they see someone demonstrating a public display of affection with someone of the same sex. They might think, oh, well, you're only adding to our problem. You are indeed rubbing it in everybody's faces, and you are indeed making this harder for me. But at the same time, it could just as easily be a straight person being very accepting and very heartened by being in a space where people of the same biological sex can do the same things that people of opposite biological sex can do.